Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Traveling Taylor. I have another awesome interview for you today with another experienced digital nomad teaching you all the things about how to work and live anywhere in the world. So this is Marketa. Hello, Marketa. Marketa is a current trip facilitator with Hacker Paradise and a lifelong adventurer. She spent years freelancing in Prague, guiding tours in Europe, and teaching English overseas. She even lived in a boat for a while and learned to sail in the Caribbean. So she's quite the adventurer. You've done quite a bit. So I'm excited to talk to you about, the different experiences you've had and maybe which one of those will resonate with you guys and maybe you want to do too. So just to get started, you are a current trip facilitator with Hacker Paradise, but you've been working and traveling for years, as I kind of said in the intro. So can you just talk a little bit about your journey and how it led you to the point where you are now?
Yeah, so I'm actually now paid for what I do. So for once, I'm actually working and traveling, but it hasn't always been like that. And I definitely started doing a lot of volunteering or very low paid jobs and a lot of things that just didn't pay anything, but I gained a lot of experience and everything sort of collided and led to the point where I'm now. So I actually started just traveling as a student and working abroad in many countries. One of the things I did, I always loved languages, so I always followed my heart in trying to work in countries where I could practice the language. One of them was English or German or Spanish or French. And
oh my gosh, you know all those languages?
No, I don't know all of them.
But
no,
still.
I can, I'm fluent in German and English, I'm learning Spanish right here in Mexico. And I was, I got a little bit better at French, but I'm in no way fluent or anything. But yeah, that was one of the reasons, because I love languages and I really wanted to travel long term and stay in the country and maybe live with locals. Learn how they live and just see the country from a different point of view than just a beach traveler. So that was my main goal. I just really was always driven to stay somewhere longer, make some money.
And what were some of the places that that love of languages actually ended up taking you?
So the first one was England. I was an au pair for a summer near London. So that was my first solo experience, first abroad experience for 3 months, actually being the responsible person taking care of 2 little kids. Improving my English beyond the school English, actually living in the country and starting speaking the language. And it just, I think from that point, I was always just drawn to other places. Yeah. Then I went to where else? I traveled to Ireland. I spent a summer there working. Worked in Germany by the seaside. I worked in Mallorca. And the big step for me after all these experiences, this was always a summer break in school. I went to do a work and travel program in the United States, and that was again a huge mind-blowing experience. That was over 10 years ago now. And yeah, traveling the US, doing a road trip and working somewhere so different and actually visiting the place of my childhood dreams and place I only knew from movies and TV shows. That was awesome.
Yeah.
So that was a really, really big step, and that was almost at the end of my college years, and then it sort of shifted when I actually finished college and started working. So I always followed places, I always did travel. I already had quite a bit of a resume in travel, and I just always wanted to do something with travel and languages. That was always something I went for when I looked for a new job.
Yeah. And so how did you come across Hacker Paradise?
Ooh, that was this is fast forward 10 years of many different things I did, and many unpaid experiences or low paid or really desk jobs, working in tourism industry, which isn't that exciting. So I came across this idea of or this image of a digital nomad, and I was hooked. And I never had a job that I could do remotely. I struggled for quite some time. I thought I could maybe build something, start doing something. I just never made that happen. So I actually started traveling with Workaway to just like get on the road, travel low cost, or keep the costs reasonable, live off my savings. And then I was pretty much home free, as we say. Had all this like amazing travel, live abroad experience, and I actually thought, okay, I don't really have a job I can do remotely, but I'm a travel planner, I like travel enthusiast. I have all this experience guiding tours, actually working with groups, working with communities. I could actually maybe work for these guys. I don't have to. I don't have to travel with them, but I can maybe work for them. And again, fast forward, I don't know, a year or something. I actually applied when I was in a good place, not having any like real attachments back home. And I applied, and months later, they actually started hiring, and I went through this 3-step hiring process, actually doing each of those interviews from a different place on the road in Australia and in Bali, which was
typical. It's exactly what they wanted to see.
Yeah, exactly. Like that adds to your resume. And I was hired, and honestly, it still blows my mind that I'm actually doing this, and I'm doing like a job where I get to speak English every day. I work with all these native English speakers and people from all over the world. I get to travel to places where I can practice my Spanish. And of course, if Corona didn't happen, it would be a year full, like back-to-back trips. But no worries, we're gonna
2021.
Get back. 2021 or whenever it's possible. Like I can't imagine my life without traveling and living abroad.
So when you're talking about your journey, you mentioned that you were an au pair, and you mentioned that you did Workaway, which are 2 different programs that I think are more popular in Europe than they are definitely in the US. Like I think people know the word au pair, they know what that is. Workaway I don't think is as popular. I didn't learn about it until I was in Australia and New Zealand. So I didn't know that it was a thing. So having done both of those types of programs, can you kind of talk about the differences between them, and what would be like someone who wanted to be an au pair, what would be like a good kind of person to do that, and someone who would do Workaway, like what's kind of a good type of person to do that?
Well, when I did au pair, that was over 15 years ago. Workaway didn't exist back then, so that option wasn't available, but I still don't think I would be able to do it back then because I was 18, 19, and I just wasn't independent enough or comfortable traveling alone at all. So au pair was my first abroad experience. I went alone to a different country. I couldn't even speak the language properly. I didn't understand anything. Like spoken language was really hard. You learn everything in school, and you just until you actually
learn the vocabulary.
And until you actually go abroad and start like get exposed and immerse yourself into the language, it doesn't really work until then. So for me, the comparison is that I think au pair is a really good place to start when you're 18, 19, and you really want to do something short but pretty secure, because this is always like agency-backed program. You don't earn any money, of course, so it's really always for the experience. And you like au pair means taking care of a household and like kids, so it's definitely not for everyone. While the range of things you can pick doing Workaways endless. There's a lot of au pair experiences there, so you can be part of a family. It's not really like agency backed, you don't really get paid, so you can do that too if you have a good relationship with children.
But in exchange, you typically get housing.
So
do they feed you?
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. So you're not really getting paid, but you're getting sort of your basic needs
And-
met on top
yeah.
of the experience.
Exactly. In that, they're very comparable because you get housing, you get food, and you have a place to stay in exchange for some like hours of work, and then you have a lot of free time or time on the side. So Workaway is perfect thing for people who are already in their mind like courageous enough to travel alone or even as a couple.
And if you're not scared of like manual labor,
that too. It's a lot about you can pick. You can really choose whatever you feel like doing and whatever you feel like trying out. But it's a lot about like labor or unskilled. I wouldn't say unskilled. Like you have to have a lot of skills, but manual skills.
Yeah, manual skills. Yeah.
I honestly don't know how popular au pair is anymore. So it was when I did it. My best friend did it. I know another friend who did exactly the same thing. So back then, 15 years ago, it was like one of the few options if you wanted to go and officially live abroad, and like it was, you get all the visas, you get everything, like it's all agency provided, and you pay for that.
And how long did you do both programs? Like how long were you an au pair and how long did you do Workaway?
I was an au pair for 3 months over the summer, so I can fit it into my summer break and not miss any schools. If you go as an au pair to the States, you only go for a year. So you usually do that like as a gap year after high school. And Workaway, I did that for how long? I'd say 7 months, of course, in many different places, but total like 7 months. I spent 3 months in one place, 6 weeks in another, and then like a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So, and it all adds up.
Yeah, I think that's actually an important distinction though, because with au pair, you're assigned to one family. That's where you are. With Workaway, you do have the option to do like a 2-week project that you sign on for, or maybe do a little bit longer. So you get that ability to move around a bit.
Yeah. It's all up to the conversation and agreement between you and the host.
And I actually have a video on different ways you can travel, and Workaway is one of those options. So if you're interested in learning about kind of these other organizations that kind of help you move around and travel a little bit, I definitely recommend to go check out that video, and I'll put a link below. So last question is, what advice do you have for people who want to get started in this work and travel life? Like you've done a lot of different things, maybe even what would you go back and tell yourself? Like how can people get started to work and actually make money on the road?
That's the thing, like you said, like work or travel or move around and make money. I think that's like the next step, and I wouldn't put that much pressure on myself in the beginning, because you don't have to have like everything figured out in the beginning and like okay, I'm gonna be a digital nomad, I have a job, I can do this, I can like jump into this. It can take a lot of like baby steps to get there. And I wouldn't be afraid to try different things, because trying new things and seeing what feels good for you is like the best advice I would give to someone. Just don't be afraid to not do what you think you should be doing with your degree or with your like experience. You can do unpaid or just like normal manual jobs, but you get to live somewhere, you get to know people, you get to meet a lot of amazing people on the road, which is like what it's a lot about. And then you just gather all that experience and you can sort of make it into something that you can get paid for. Yeah.
And I love that, like you mentioned earlier, you have a love of languages, and that's kind of what drove you and guided you through your different experiences. So start there. Like, what is your passion? What do you really enjoy? And maybe how can you think about it differently? If it's not an obvious thing that can help you travel, like how can you think about it differently, and how can that passion take you to different places?
And I would add one thing, like these passions, they can be really anything. If you love horses, if you love boats or would like to live on a boat or try sailing, if you like diving, if you like what else, like farm life or sustainable farming, or you want to help out an NGO somewhere, all that can be done through Workaway, and you don't pay for that.
Yeah.
And you get all like this amazing life experience in exchange for your time, for your, like, you volunteer yourself, and you can do that.
Yeah. Find different ways to travel. And then the other thing actually I took from what you were saying was even when you were in school, you started early. You spent your summers doing something like, so even if you're not to the point where you're out of school yet and you're not sure like how to make it happen, take the small breaks that you do have, the Christmas break, the summer breaks. I did that too. I did a lot of stuff during my summer breaks, and each one gives you the confidence to do the next thing. So never like dismiss like a decision you make or an experience you have, because it all kind of like builds and leads up to the next thing. So that was one thing that I took away that kind of resonated with me.
Yes. Yeah. I'm very proud of these years that I always went, every summer I was driven to go and find a new job abroad and do something, and they were not always like fancy jobs or something.
Yeah, they're not always.
But yeah, it's good to have a side income. It's good to have that feeling that you can maybe support yourself and you can earn your own money for whatever you want to buy. And that's also very, very important experience.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining me and sharing your insights. Thank you for being here as well. I have a new video every Tuesday, so I will see you next week. See you later.